Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into, well, the really shadowy, highly secretive world of one of the Warhammer 40,000 universe's most enigmatic forces, the Grey Knights.
A fascinating topic.
Absolutely. You've asked us to unpack the layers of their unique identity, their, frankly, awe-inspiring powers, and sort of how they stand apart, even from other really legendary Space Marine chapters.
Right. They're definitely not your standard Astartes.
Exactly. So our mission today is to give you a shortcut, maybe, to understanding these elite warriors. And we've got some surprising facts that might just reshape your view of the Imperium's protectors.
Sounds good. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's unpack this first bit. We're talking about a Space Marine chapter unlike almost any other. So, what is their core identity? What's their foundational purpose?
Well, the Grey Knights were forged right at the end of humanity's biggest betrayal. We're talking the Horus Heresy.
Wow, right from the start then.
Yeah, literally born from those ashes. The Emperor himself envisioned them as humanity's ultimate sort of uncompromised weapon, their specific task, combating the daemonic entities of the warp, just pure chaos threats, and also purging mortals corrupted by the chaos gods.
Okay, so hyper-focused.
Extremely. And they operate from their fortress monastery on Titan, Saturn's moon.
Titan.
Yeah.
It's unusual.
It is, and it's incredibly secret. Few people, even high up in the Imperium, actually know they exist there. This secrecy isn't just, for show. It's fundamental. Because knowing too much about chaos, well, that can taint you itself.
Right. Knowledge itself is dangerous. So This isn't just another chapter. It's a force wrapped in secrecy, purpose-built for the absolute worst threats imaginable, chaos itself.
Exactly.
It sounds like they have a very specific, almost surgical role, not like a general army for any old invasion.
Precisely. It's a precision instrument. That's a good way to put it. And what's really interesting is where they sit in the whole Imperial structure. They aren't just Space Marines doing their own thing.
Okay.
They are the chamber militant of the Ordo Malleus.
Ah, the demon hunters of the Inquisition.
That's them. The branch specializing only in demon hunting. Think of it like the ultimate anti-demon specialists.
So it parallels the Death Watch, then. They handle the Xenos for the Ordo Xenos.
Exactly the same kind of relationship. Death Watch for aliens, Grey Knights for demons. Their exclusive mission, their whole reason to be, is hunting and destroying demons. That makes them incredibly specialized, an unwavering focus, the absolute tip of the spear against that kind of corruption.
Their specialization is clear. But here's where it gets, for me, really interesting. Recruitment. This isn't just finding tough guys, is it?
Oh, not at all. It's profoundly different.
How so?
Well, first off, every single Grey Knight is a powerful psyker.
Every single one. No exceptions.
None. It's not a bonus feature. It's the baseline requirement. They wield psychic powers. They're usually picked very young, often from worlds hit hard by demons, or even from the ranks of Imperial psychers themselves.
So they're looking for that latent ability.
Yes, that spark. But also, and this is crucial, incorruptibility. Unparalleled mental strength. The vetting is, well, it's brutal. Way beyond regular Space Marine trials.
So it's not just physical tests.
Far from it. Imagine spiritual trials designed to pit their very souls against the whispers of chaos, testing that incorruptibility to the absolute limit.
That's a critical point, and it brings up a really stark contrast within the Imperium, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How does this embrace of psychic power stack up against, say, the Black Templars?
Yeah. That's one of the most fascinating divides.
They famously hate psychers, right?
They absolutely abhor them. They explicitly ban psychic powers in their own ranks. If an initiate shows potential, they actively suppress it.
Wow. Why?
They see it as inherently dangerous, a potential gateway for chaos. Too risky. Now, they do grudgingly tolerate astropaths and navigators.
Because they have to, for travel and communication?
Pretty much. Essential services linked, however dangerously, to the Emperor, but they view them with deep suspicion. Definitely no psychers on the front lines for them.
And the Grey Knights are the polar opposite.
Completely. They embrace their psychic nature. It's their main weapon. It's their identity, their shield, their sword against the warp. It's fundamental to who they are.
It's a core philosophical difference, then.
Absolutely. And remember, unlike the Death Watch, who pull veterans from other chapters.
Right, experienced Marines.
Grey Knights are chosen young and molded into these specific psyker warriors. Their entire training is about mastering the warp, not just fighting.
Okay, that contrast really paints a picture. So if their whole identity is psychic power, secrecy, this super specialized role, how does that play out on the battlefield? What does it look like when Grey Knights deploy?
Well, it's interesting. Lore-wise, they are definitely Space Marines, no question.
Right.
But mechanically, like on the tabletop in the game, they're treated as their own separate faction. They have their own rule book, their own codex.
Ah, so not just a flavor of the main Space Marine book.
Nope. It shows their playstyle is just too unique, too tied to psychic powers and being elite to fit the standard template. They're more like the other distinct chapters: Black Templars, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wolves.
The ones with their own books or big supplements?
Exactly. Yeah. Because their way of war is fundamentally different.
So that points to them being a very focused, very elite force. Quality over quantity, massively. Does that show up in their army size in-game?
Oh, absolutely. They're famous for it. High elite status, very low model count.
Meaning fewer figures on the table.
Way fewer compared to most other armies. Each Grey Knight model is incredibly valuable, powerful, and costs a lot in points or resources. It's a trait they share with other super elite groups like the Adeptus Custodes, the Emperor's Bodyguards, or even Imperial Knights.
The big walkers, yeah, makes sense.
Every model is practically a hero unit. And in gameplay, they are total masters of the psychic phase.
Because they're all psychers.
Right. Every unit can cast powers, deny enemy powers. They are extremely active psychically. Their whole strategy revolves around it buffs for themselves, debuffs for the enemy, direct psychic damage.
So they're not just relying on bolters and chainswords.
They're good at that too. Very effective in melee, solid at range. But they often use psychic powers to enhance that fighting, and they use teleportation a lot.
Popping up where you least expect them.
Exactly. Tactical strikes, appearing right where they need to be.
It sounds complex, though. All those psychic powers, managing fewer but stronger units. How easy are they to get into for someone maybe looking at them for the game or just the lore?
They're generally considered maybe a bit easier to start with than, say, Deathwatch.
Why is that?
Deathwatch involves mixing lots of different units and chapter rules, which can be tricky. Grey Knights are more internally consistent. However, they can be tougher to really master than some more straightforward Space Marine chapters.
Because of the psychic complexity.
Yeah, getting the most out of their psychic phase, timing the buffs, understanding the synergies, that takes practice.
Okay.
But despite their low numbers in lore, they are incredibly well equipped. Like the Deathwatch, they get top-tier funding.
Because the Inquisition backs them?
Exactly. Shows how vital their mission is seen to be. Key units people might recognize. The Nemesis Dread Knight is a big one.
The walker suit?
Yeah, that's it. And characters like Grandmaster Voldus are pretty prominent. Visually, they're just very striking. That polished bluish-silver armor, the knightly look, very distinct.
Definitely stand out.
Yeah.
There's one last really fascinating detail, I think, that sets them apart. It's about their theology, their view on the Emperor.
Ah, yes. This is a big one.
You'd think, being created by him, fighting chaos directly, they'd be the most zealous worshippers, maybe even more than the Black Templars.
You would think that, wouldn't you? But the lore says otherwise. It's quite different.
So what is their stance?
Well, unlike the Black Templars, who are among the very few chapters that explicitly fervently worship the Emperor as a literal god,
The Grey Knights don't.
they do not consider the Emperor a god. They apparently view that kind of belief as, and this is a quote or paraphrase, for the deluded masses they protect.
Wow. That's blunt.
It is. It aligns them more with the majority of Space Marine chapters, actually.
Who see him as an ancestor, a great leader, founder.
Exactly. Honored ancestor, ultimate general, humanity's protector. But not a divine being for them to worship in that way. Their view seems incredibly pragmatic, almost cold, maybe.
So.
For the Grey Knights, devotion isn't about prayer or chanting. It's about absolute, unwavering focus on the mission. They know the true horror of chaos, the nature of the warp, the price of failure, and that knowledge, that grim understanding is what drives them. Not faith in the usual Imperial sense. It makes them quite isolated, really.
What a deep dive. We've really unpacked the Grey Knights, humanity's ultimate weapon against chaos. This secretive all-psyker chapter serving as the Inquisition's sharpest blade against demons.
From their unique recruitment, their distinct battlefield style,
to that surprising theological pragmatism, they really do stand alone in the Imperium, don't they? A bulwark against horrors most people don't even know exist.
And it leaves you with a question to think about, doesn't it? In this universe, just drenched in faith and fanaticism, endless war, what does it really mean for an elite force like the Grey Knights to basically forego that blind worship? To choose instead this cold, unwavering focus on their absolutely critical mission? Does that pragmatism make them stronger, more effective? Or maybe does it just make their grim crusade even lonelier?
Something to chew on. What stands out to you about the Grey Knights? We hope you enjoyed this deep dive. If you found this insightful, please do consider sharing it with someone else who loves learning about this stuff, and maybe subscribe for more in-depth explorations.
Yeah, that would be great.
Until next time, keep those minds curious.